my CD update for August 2024. Ahoy everybody, and welcome to my CD update. So this is all the CDs that I've bought and listened to since my last update, which was in May. It's not a huge amount, but we'll go through them. So first up is Nick Helm is fucking amazing. So I met Nick, he did a signing at my local record shop, A Slice of Vinyl. Basically he was doing a gig in Fareham. Team Asov are big fans of him. Basically just asked if he wanted to come and do a signing. They didn't take any money or anything for it. But he came along, he bought copies of his records. This one was only available on CD. The Heavy Entertainment Show, is that what it was called? The next album anyway, I already had on CD, but he had vinyl copies of that, so I bought that for him, met him, I've done a video about it. So this is signed to me on the back. Yeah, this is great. Nick, his music is good music anyway, but it's also very funny. Yeah, very, very good. So this is Best of New Order. So this is the 1994 Best of. This was some VCLT from the wonderful Jimmy Barnes. I have talked briefly about this on a vinyl video. I think it was on a vinyl one. But I will go over it now because this is where I should have talked about it. So New Order, a band I like, don't own much of. I have 12 Inch of Blue Monday, which is one of the greatest songs ever written. Few odd tracks on compilations and what have you, on Train Spotting soundtrack and, you know, those sort of bits. But never a band I've deeply delved into. I do struggle with Barney's voice sometimes, although it's not as bad as it was in the really early years. It's certainly improved over time. But, yeah. Oh, if there's a band I've sort of... So many people who I like, as in Jimmy and Sean Whelan, you know, various other people, like New Order. So therefore, I wanted to give them a proper go. So Jimmy sending me this was, you know, was perfect. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. I will probably get more New Order albums. My gripe with this, as I said when I talked about this last time, was why they keep remixing their tracks. So this has got True Faith 94 rather than the original. This has got Bizarre Love Triangle 94 rather than the original. It's got 1963 94 rather than the original. It's got Blue Monday 88 rather than the original. I'd rather have the originals, particularly on the best of. But that aside, yeah, really enjoyed that. Jimmy also sent me this. So this is, I think he said, the debut album by In Strict Confidence, Cryogenics, and this is a 25th anniversary edition. He is a big ISC, as he calls them, fan. This, I didn't dislike it. Musically, it was fine. Sort of typical European rock music. My biggest gripe or problem with it was the lead singer's voice. It was very much the growly metal voice, which I can cope with in, you know, short bursts, but a whole album of it, I just tire of it really after a while. As I think, as I thought, I don't think I'd want to dive any further with them, but I might spin this again. So this is a new Cherry Red Records release of Jesse Johnson's solo albums, Jesse Johnson Review, Shockadelica and Every Shade of Love, plus some bonus tracks. So Jesse Johnson was guitarist in The Time, which was the band that Prince formed out of various Minneapolis bands that he grew up with. They were the other band in Purple Rain and Graffiti Bridge. Jesse Johnson left them, did some solo work. I already had Shockadelica and Every Shade of Love on vinyl. Didn't have Jesse Johnson Review. This was like 15 quid for all three albums, as I say, plus bonus tracks on 2 CDs. It's not wonderful, but it's perfectly listenable, decent enough funk pop from 80s, you know, got that vibe. It has, you know, vaguely Princey vibes at time, although he's got no direct involvement on anything. He says no, he hasn't. The second album, Shockadelica, Prince wrote a song which became a B-side called Shockadelica in response to Jessie, because he said, that's such a good title, how can you not have a song of that title on the album? That album also features a song called Do Yourself a Favour, which was originally a track that was variously known as Do Yourself a Favour or If You See Me, which was written by Pepe Willie and performed by his band 94 East, which featured Prince and Andre Simone before Prince had his solo work. And that's been released hundreds of different times, including this last Record Store Day. I listened to it about 4 days ago. Re-release to cash in on Prince's fame. There's sort of, although it's always credited on 94 East albums to Pepe Willie, and it is credited to Pepe on here, although Jessie gets, I think, a songwriting credit on it as well. Prince also recorded a version of it and gave himself credit for it as well. So it's a song that obviously it is a good song, but it's a song that everybody sort of in that scene obviously really likes and wants to take credit for. So the true origin of it may never be known, but it's interesting that that's on here. Biggest gripe with this release is that CD1 is all of Jesse Johnson Review, and then it's all of Shockadelica, apart from a very last track. They couldn't quite fit the last track on, so that begins CD2. If there was a way they could have just squeezed it onto CD1, it would have been perfect, but that just, you can imagine how frustrating that is. This is One Hand Clapping. So this is the recent release, Paul McCartney and Wings. I'm sure you know all about this, so I won't go into too much detail, but it's basically live versions of various Paul McCartney, Wings and Beatles tracks recorded in 1974, and it's very enjoyable. This is the Wonka soundtrack. So I showed a CD of this a while back that I'd imported from America. It was on a CDR but was official. This is the proper release of it, released by Mutant Records. So it's on a proper pressed CD with a better booklet, etc. So this is the soundtrack to Wonka. The music was written by Joby Talbot. The songs were written by Neil Hannon. Neil Hannon is the Divine Comedy. Joby Talbot was in the Divine Comedy. They are my favourite band. That's why I'm sort of collecting this release. I have 2 vinyl versions of it as well, which I have already shown. Really enjoy this. This is Kate Nash's new album, Nine Sad Symphonies. I have had listened to one of the vinyl versions of this before I showed it in my vinyl update, so I have talked about this album. This is obviously the CD version. Biggest gripe with this is that the booklet is really badly done. It looks like they've just sort of photocopied it onto there. It's all slightly blurry and it all seems sort of cut out around the words. I don't know if you can quite see that. It's really cheaply done on the CD, and it's not like that at all on the vinyl. Album itself, gripe number 1, it's called Nine Sad Symphonies, there's 10 songs. I love Kate Nash, she is my joint favourite female solo artist. My other gripe is that this is all a bit samey. All 10 songs of a similar vibe. It's very nice, and it's got an orchestra, and I love music with an orchestra. But there's none of the shouty Kate Nash that I love on here, sort of to break it up a bit. We could have done with a couple of shouty Kate Nash songs, but otherwise really good. This is another Cherry Red Records release. This is Tanita Tikaram, the We Are East West albums, 1988 to 1995. So this is her first 5 albums: Ancient Heart, Everybody's Angel, 11 Kinds of Loneliness, The Sweet Keeper. This is that. Sorry, Sweet Keeper should have come after. I'm reading it round like that, and I should have read it like that. And Lovers in the City. Nice clamshell, nice booklet. What's very interesting is Tanita has listened to the albums and sort of talked about the songs for each of the albums, either her influence behind them, what she thinks about them nowadays, the people performing on them, various different things. But that's interesting. Nice to have. Doesn't talk about any of the bonus tracks on those though. They come in sort of album replica sleeves, and any relevant extras are added to them. So it's B-sides, different mixes, demos, that sort of stuff. Some of which have been released, some of which haven't. I have all these albums on CD and any that are available on vinyl, but it's nice to have them all together like that. Big fan of Tanita. Really enjoyed that. This is also a Cherry Red release, he says, or is it Demon? Yes, no, this is Cherry Red. This is the Complete Shampoo. So I only really knew Shampoo for Trouble and Viva La Mega Babes. But always enjoyed them, and this was a right price that I thought, yeah, they're worth, exploring all their catalogue. So Shampoo were 2 girls, wrote and recorded their own music, sort of slightly pre-Spice Girls, but similar sort of feel to them, as in, their second album? Yeah, their second album was called Girl Power. This was before the Spice Girls. So this has got their 3 albums, so We Are Shampoo, their debut, and then an extra 14 bonus tracks on that, B-sides, demos, mixes, unreleased tracks. CD2 is the second album, Girl Power, and again loads of extras on that, mainly remixes plus some B-sides. CD3 was their third album, Absolute Shampoo, which was only available online, again very early on, before online was a big thing. That's just the album, and then it's got a DVD with their videos and some TV footage as well. I haven't watched that yet. Comes with a signed card, nice booklet telling their story, interviews with them, and then the albums again in the CD replica style, cardboard wallets, and that's for DVD. But yeah, I enjoyed them. Got a bit repetitive. Their music doesn't change much, but not enough to spoil it for me. Picked up a couple of Bond soundtracks, one of which I had on vinyl but didn't have on CD. I was mainly looking for the other one, which I didn't have on any format, and they came as a bundle together. So I thought I would kill 2 birds with 1 stone. So it's Casino Royale. So this is one I've already had on vinyl. Great soundtrack. I love David Arnold's Bond soundtracks. Yeah, very strong. This does not contain You Know My Name. And then Quantum of Solace, another David Arnold soundtrack. The soundtrack is better than the film. This does contain the Another Way to Die, Alicia Keys and Jack White, which as an Alicia Keys film is one of my favourite Bond themes. But again, another good soundtrack. Enjoyed listening to those. So all, I think I previously mentioned to Jimmy that I only had to get Never Say Never Again. I forgot I didn't have Quantum of Solace. Now I've got Quantum of Solace. I do own, in one format or another, all the Bond soundtracks, except Never Say Never Again, which is really hard to come by and costs a lot of money. I want to do a complete Bond soundtrack ranking, but because I want to include the 67 Casino Royale, I need to therefore include Never Say Never Again, so I need to do something about that somehow. If I can find a stream of it or something, then I'll just listen to it and include it that way. This was Charity Shop, 25p, Walking into Clarksdale, Jimmy Page and Robert Plant. Yeah, it was okay. Vaguely Led Zeppelin-y, as you would expect. Decent enough, nothing spectacular, but I enjoyed listening to it. This is also 25p in a Charity Shop. This is Roaring Twenties by Rizzle Kicks. So this was their second and to date last album, although apparently they are working on new music. I have their debut on CD and on vinyl, which I really enjoy. I enjoyed this just as much. Fun, lyrically good and lyrically funny, good music. Yes, enjoyed that. Another Charity Shop. Again, this is 25p. This is Bruno Mars, Doo-Wops and Hooligans. So I had one or two of his albums already, but I didn't have this one. This was his debut. So it's got Just the Way You Are, Grenade, Lazy Song, Count on Me. But it's all good. Yeah, enjoyed that a lot. Couple more. So this is Blur live at Wembley Stadium. So I was at the Saturday gig. Blur, my favourite band, second favourite band, sorry, after Divine Comedy. Joint second favourite with the Beatles. So very much looking forward. I thought this would get a release. There were signs up saying it was all being recorded and everything at the gig. So I was looking forward to this getting a release. When it was finally announced, was happy, except the way it was released. So you can either buy the full Sunday show, which is this CD, although I know I said otherwise on the last vinyl update. This CD is the full Sunday show, as is the 3 LP set. Or you can buy a 2 LP set, which has got it's mainly the Sunday show, but some tracks are from a Saturday show. So if you went to the Saturday show and you wanted to hear the Saturday show, you need to get the 2 disc set, but then you won't ever hear all of the Saturday show. I'd rather they released 2 versions if they were going to do that, the Sunday show and the Saturday show, and then you could choose which you wanted or get both. As it is, you can't hear the Saturday show at all on CD because the CD is just for Sunday show. And as I say, you can just hear highlights of it if you buy the 2 LP set, which I have. And I do intend getting all the different vinyl variants of it, but because I'm going on holiday in a couple of weeks, I haven't been able to spend much lately. So that'll be an afterwards catch up. Yeah, that said, really enjoyed this. Brought back memories of the actual gig itself. Plus some of my favourite songs of all time on here by, as I say, one of my favourite bands of all time. They haven't edited the bits that go wrong. This between song banter, it is just the gig as is, from what I could tell. And so at times it sounds a bit messy, but that's part of the charm of it. And I think when they are releasing the show on DVD and Blu-ray at the end of September, I think pairing it with the visuals, it'll make a bit more sense as well. But a great set list, tracks from throughout their career, right up to date. Nothing from Magic Whip, but I don't mind that because I wasn't a big fan of that album. But so they started with St Charles Square from A Ballad of Darren, but then they went straight into There's No Other Way from their debut. Lots, very heavy from Park Life. A few from Great Escape. But as I say, otherwise, all the albums touched upon it in one way or the other. Yeah, fantastic. And finally, we have a new album from Will Young. This is Light It Up. So I'm a big fan of Will. Like some of his work more than others, but he's a great singer. He's very good live. I've seen him live a couple of times. He's a great singer, and he's sung some great pop songs. This is very much a pop album, as you would expect. I enjoyed it. It's not his best, but I enjoyed it. I've got it on vinyl as well. I think on a second listen I'll enjoy it and appreciate it even more. That does tend to happen with Will's albums. But it is a bit samey, but the title track was sort of different from everything else, and so is probably my favourite track on the album at the moment. But the rest of it sort of blended together a fair bit, but still strong and enjoyed. And that's it. That's me up to date. Once I've got that sort of size chunk to talk about, I'll do another one of these. But I've not got a lot coming in at the moment for reasons just stated. Thank you for watching. Like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you in another video. Thanks. Bye.